here is failure to communicate. Some people you just can't reach, and I don't like it anymore.
With all the information at our fingertips, how can we, the people, become more knowledgeable and then accountable? We need to step out of the information age and into the accountability age. Welcome to the Great Internet Debates Hot Topic, Hot Potato Roundtable Discussion. Let me start by setting the table. Please click like, subscribe, notify, and share all the buttons, and most importantly, a huge thumbs up, all right? Check out our newly updated website, thegreatinternetdebate.com, to request your invite to be on the next Hot Topic, Hot Potato Roundtable discussion. These folks here made the call. This is a bullpen of sorts, whereas these folks at the table will engage in a civil discussion of all the hot topics of the times. There are here on TGID. We don't want to sling mud at one another, but we rather stir it up a little bit and to help build bridges rather than divisive walls. This show is to entertain as well as educate viewers of newsworthy stories of the now. Moving forward, we want to give each hot topic 3 60-second debate rounds, starting with an opening statement, the response, and finally a solutions round. We will give everyone a hot minute per round to start your thoughts on the hot topic and pass the hot topic like that. All right? This is hot topic, hot minute will help laser focus your thoughts. Someone can pass if they want, or they can to another. Okay, we're going to have the hot minute intro round for my distinguished guests here at the table. Please introduce who, what, where, when, and your why, and your hot topic that you brought to the table, and how you stumbled upon us here. So the folks passing the potato goes like that. Everybody can practice that. All right. There we go, a little interaction. Hey, how you doing, Marvin? So let's get started. I'm going to start by modeling it, and then I'll pass it over. So my name is Jay Cohen. I'm a local insurance agent here in Salinas. And a few years back, I had to write a script, an idea of this show, The Great Internet Debate. And it's a game show initially, and now we have a talk show. This is to pin focus everybody in on the hot topics so that we can have this debate game show down the road. And this is a great way for common folks to get together, and not just common folks, but very distinguished people who we have authors and business owners and comedians and other business owners here on the phone. And they're going to introduce themselves now. Right now, let me pass the ball over to Anthony over there. Anthony, explain who you are and where you're from, and tell us about yourself.
I am Anthony Trino. I'm a comedian and a screenwriter for the last 10 years. Previous to that, I was a therapist and counselor for about 25 years, and I owned rehabilitation facilities, physical rehabilitation facilities. I have authored a book called Solving the Workers' Comp Problem, and I helped co-author a book about the people that died in the civil rights movement. And I am now working on a few television shows and movies that are relevant to those subjects. So glad to be here, and I'm going to pass it off to David Finkelstein.
I didn't know I was going to have to speak tonight. I thought I was just going to view. Thank you, Jay. David Finkelstein. It's Steen on the East Coast, Stein on the West Coast. Just ask my parents. I'm a retired father, retired database administrator, computer guy, father of 3, widower, live in Salinas many years. What else? Shoot, I haven't written a book. Just been living the life and growing a nice garden now, and been home. Actually was home with COVID restrictions, not for me, but from the job. I worked for California State University, Monterey Bay, for almost 20 years. I just recently retired in December, and been home. Well, we've been working from home since March, for the COVID. So let's see. Yeah, looks aren't everything. Let's see. I've got 3 kids, boy, girl, boy. 2 are out of college. One's in Northern California, one's in way Northern California. What's that? Oh, is my time up? Okay, so I think that's enough about me. And I'm going to throw it to...
Josh, put the minute timer up there, please. Thank you. And we can hear you.
Haley.
Go ahead, Frank. David.
Oh. Am I done, or I have to do that all over again?
Toss it over to somebody.
Tossing it to Haley.
There you go. Harley.
I'm sorry. I missed the letter. Apologize.
No, you're fine. So hi, I'm Harley Upshaw. I'm a college student at Iowa Central. This is my first semester, so lots of fun with all the COVID restrictions. I just saw the podcast for the first time last week. Just had an interest, I guess. Saw everything. Thought everybody here was pretty cool, pretty chill. I'm just kind of hoping maybe to get a little bit more informed, maybe see some other perspectives tonight. That's all I have to say. I'm going to pass it on to Marvin.
Hi, this is Marvin Cohen. I'm Jay's dad. I also have an insurance agency here in Salinas, but I'm working on my nonprofit, Our World Peace Park. Can you hear me? Jay, can you hear me?
There you go. I can hear you now. Speak up.
Oh, I turned my volume down because I have what do you call these things? Hearing devices. I just got them today, so I put them in to see if I could hear something. But I guess I have the volume too low, so I better put it up so you guys can hear me. I really want to get my nonprofit off the ground, is to overcome prejudice through education, because there's too much prejudice in the world, and most people, they don't like themselves, so they join gangs and or become followers of a gang leader because they don't like themselves. So I'm going to try to get people to learn how to like themselves and to learn how to understand everyone else. Everyone's culture, so that they can get to know everyone in the world.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Marvin. Okay, so we got the timer there now, so we're going to go ahead and pass it over to Michael. You got a minute on the timer there. You got 1 minute, all right?
Hello, my name is Michael Perez. Wait, I'm not Michael Perez. I'm Michael Houston. Hey, I just want to thank Harley for joining us, and Marvin for pointing out that gangs like the firm over there in Buckingham Palace apparently have let themselves down once again. And Victoria may have been Queen of Emperor of India. But, some of this racist, imperialist, extremely unfair stuff just isn't right. And if I didn't own a house, I would actually favor like a wealth tax, so you could actually balance things better and not have my heirs be like a bunch of Norman pirates who stole Ireland. I'll stop there. You can figure it from... Oh, shit.
All right. 10 seconds left. All right, cool. Welcome to the show, Michael. All right, and then we're going to pass it over to, did I already give it to Anthony?
Yeah, we already did.
All right, Pete Anderson, you're last on the call here. Introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Pete Andresen.
Basic.
I am something like fifth or sixth or more generations in Monterey County, raised on a wilderness ranch with some Native American ancestors and really wilderness ranch. And then after that, I went through Salinas High School, joined the Marines, Marine Corps Infantry, a little dose of PTSD, getting blown up a few times. Bachelor's degree, master's degree, UC Davis. And after all that, Arabic linguist for a while, chased around the world with the Marines. Then I started my investment advisory service, my investment advisory firm here in Salinas. And as part of dealing with PTSD, started writing. And my first novel, Honor, was about dealing with the changing morality of society in Monterey County and dealing with life and loss in the new war against terror. And my second novel that we'll be discussing tonight is about what happens in 2022, which is a way I deal with my 4 a.m. wake-up call from PTSD.
Well, thank you and welcome to the call. And this is this show is we're featuring you, Pete. You are a local author, like you mentioned, and there's another book that you wrote called The Pyre book right here, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, an interview about. And also, I have one of your books here in the office that you probably didn't know. I picked it up over there at the office. It's another book that you wrote, Dollars and Common Sense.
Sure.
Right. So, yeah, there's a few hot topics in the air. Okay, so let's talk about vaccines for a hot minute. It seems like things are moving right along. More than 10% of the population, I don't know what the numbers are now, but a lot of people are getting dosed up, getting their shots, and the numbers are going down. And Merck and Johnson & Johnson are teaming up last week, I guess, and that may be old news right now, but it's pretty exciting to see this new news of information being positive about vaccinations. Now, how many people on the call have already gotten their shots? I know, Marvin, you got your shot, right?
Yeah. Got one.
So we got almost, almost half the call. Yeah, nice. Okay, Anthony, you got anything to say about the vaccines?
Well, I'm refusing to take the vaccine because if Jesus wants me dead, he'll make me be dead. So I don't need no vaccine or no science. I'm just repeating what I hear from the idiots in Alabama. Of course, it's wonderful. What Biden's doing is wonderful. He's reaching his goals and exceeding his goals, getting people vaccinated. I've spent most of my life in Texas, and of course, the idiots in Texas have decided to go maskless and pantsless and spread this as quickly as they can before they get their vaccination. So that's disappointing, but you can always count on Texas, Mississippi, and Florida to do the stupidest shit possible. So I'm happy for Biden. I'm glad what he's doing to vaccinations. I wish people would hold their horses before we act like everything's over. That's my time.
Awesome. All right. So, Michael, we're going to try to stick to the minute timer there. So let's jump in when you want at 20 if you want to, and you're on.
I am very interested in the Johnson & Johnson thing as a Golden Sash altar boy out of West LA. I think I'm allowed to serve the Pope someday, so I was told as a 7th grader. But more importantly, if fetal tissue is involved, and this is the part I love, if an abortion tissue is in its nth generation of existence, how cool is that? That's amazing. Saving lives after not staying alive, or just fetal tissue, which they didn't trace down to an abortion. That is just amazing stuff to me. And I think life is precious and guns are dangerous. And I'm going to plug my book. The song says book night. This is Love with Honor, probably spelled backwards on your machines. And the author is a caregiver, and she follows Marines and others around to, she gives love and with honor and she finds caregiving a very noble profession. So how cool is that? My time's up.
Awesome. Very cool. And then we're going to toss it over to David. Anything? No, David? Okay.
Yes, I had to unmute myself, and I just got a text saying I have to pick up my son, so I'll just make this quick. I think Texas and the other states have every right not to have to take the virus and to do the anti-lockdowns. I think that statistics are showing that people are making their decisions based on the science, and that people are masking up and playing it safe. Not everybody may be doing it, but we're still a free country, and I don't think that people should be called names because there's disagreements. I don't think they're Neanderthals, and I think that we're on the right track, and I have been vaccinated. And I wear masks, and I don't go out, and I have to leave.
There you go. All right,
I'll follow on my phone so I can hear you, but I won't be able to speak. All right, bye.
Okay. All right. Do you see that, Josh? One's leaving. Okay, so we're almost ready for the next minute. And Harley, you're up.
All right. So like as far as the vaccines go, I really think everybody should be taking them. I mean, it's proven, right? Vaccines, they're good for us. It went through rigorous testing. It's approved. We can all take the vaccine once it becomes available to all of us. I think all of these states that are opening up before everybody is vaccinated, I feel like that's irresponsible. I feel like that's putting a lot of people at risk who have, maybe compromised immune systems, who maybe could actually die from this, We haven't gotten cases down that low yet. I mean, we're still getting thousands of cases here in Iowa, but we just lifted the mask mandates. So, yeah, I'm not in agreement of that. I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Mark.
Who, me?
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah.
I just want to say about this vaccine. It was really interesting to me that they started the vaccine with the older people who had problems, medical problems. So that they were getting ready to die anyway because they're old. And so they figured if the vaccine wasn't any good, they'd be dying anyway. So they started out with these people. And then the people were okay. So they said, okay, well, we'll go to the younger people who have medical problems. So we'll try it on them. And they didn't die. And so they started sending it out to everybody. And I was talking to my granddaughter, it was her 15th birthday today. And I said, by the end of June, everybody in the United States that wants to get a vaccine will be vaccinated. And she says, yeah, but they're only vaccinating down to age 16. I says, no. Right now they're vaccinating down to age 16, maybe. But by the end of June, even kids 2 years old will be vaccinated because they'll have enough vaccines and they'll have enough vaccination facilities and enough people giving shots that they're over 2 million a day now. So in 80 days or 90 days, whatever it is, till June.
Maybe they'll get a roll of toilet paper with it. Okay.
Anthony, what's your...
What's that? Who hasn't spoken yet on this topic, vaccines? Did you already speak, Pete?
Nope, not yet. I've just been sitting here thinking. My basic thought is that I have taken my first shot and it kind of put me down for a day. Not bad, just felt like sleeping. The biggest thing that's interesting is that we are all being manipulated and inundated with fake information put out by a number of sources, some of which are foreign. I mean, apparently there are Russian entities, among others, trying to get Americans to hate each other and trying to get them to not take the vaccine. And it's interesting because there's so much fake and bad information out there that some people are defaulting to just say, I don't want the vaccine, which is unfortunate and tragic, but doesn't make them evil or bad. Just means we're under assault with excessive information.
I agree on that. We're here to help. Yeah. Go ahead, Marvin.
I don't know how old you are, Pete, but when I was a little kid, they started coming out with the first vaccines, with the measles and the mumps and the chicken pox and all that when I was like 3 years old. And at that time, people were afraid to get vaccinated, you know, get their kids vaccinated or whatever. And then over a period of time, they started getting them vaccinated and they found out that the kids no longer suffer from measles and the mumps and smallpox. And then when polio came out, they started coming out with a polio vaccine. And the same thing, just like this vaccine. Oh, I'm not going to get polio. I don't want that vaccine. And now everybody's getting polio vaccine. You know, so in 5 years from now, everybody will be getting this COVID vaccine. And then we'll be on to some other thing.
Well,
that's just the nature of life. Go ahead, Pete.
Right.
Can I respond?
Yeah.
Okay, the thing that's interesting, my mother is over 100 years old, and she's still with us. She lives down the street. And she was one of the people in Salinas that introduced the first polio vaccine to Salinas. And they had clinics at the schools, and they inoculated everybody. And unfortunately, the first polio vaccine actually gave a few people polio. It was not a very effective situation because it used attenuated viruses, real polio viruses. They corrected that. We are not taking attenuated viruses with this COVID vaccine. That is not a risk anymore, but it really did happen. And so when people look back into history, they can find evidence of vaccines that accidentally caused the disease it was supposed to cure, like the first smallpox inoculations did. But that's no longer the case. However, there's still that history that people go back to and that unfortunately malicious people tap into to create fear of our current vaccine.
All right.
Right. I think I'm gonna disagree with Pete a little bit. I'm gonna have to say that those are stupid people, and we do ourselves a disservice when we don't call them stupid. If they're overwhelmed with information, which is what stupid people are often overwhelmed with, is an abundance of information, they should just take their cues from the people in charge. You were in the military. I spent the first 23 years of my life in the military. You do what's best for the group. You don't get to step out and claim you have rights, and you don't get to march a different way. You don't get to wear a different rank. You don't get to refuse vaccines. You do what's best for the platoon or for the unit. So we've always had idiots in society every step of the way that we've had to overcome. Every now and then someone's going to die. Every now and then someone's going to get the disease, but that doesn't matter because these are tested ahead of time and the numbers are so small. So America is one of the most frightened group populations in the world. And we see that every time something has to be done in this society, those with fear scream the loudest and create the biggest amount of problems. And I run out of patience. After 55 years, I've run out of patience with them. So I'm more than happy to call them stupid. I'm more than happy to call them an obstacle to progress in our society.
Anybody have a response?
I got to respond. Does that not, are we not teaching our society cowardice? Are we not teaching our society, are we not allowing our society to be inundated with garbage information?
We've always allowed that. McCarthyism was garbage information. The resistance to civil rights was garbage information. Women, what we did to women was garbage information. This is what the KKK did to the blacks. Our society, our society is based on garbage information. The Constitution is garbage information. When we said all men are created equal, that was a blatant lie. Women weren't created equal. The black people standing in that room was not created equal. So when you start a country based on a blatant lie and you pass this lie on generations for generations, you're going to create a subset in your society who's just dumb as hell. And so at some point we have to say, I was a therapist and a counselor. You did not come into my office and tell me how to do therapy. Pete, if you had a stroke or you had an injury, you came into my facility, I'm going to talk to you. We're going to develop a rapport. But at no time in that process are you going to tell me how you're going to do therapy. I'm going to tell you what you need to do to get well, and you're going to do it. And if you don't, I'm going to toss your ass out because you don't have the expertise or the training to tell me. And I don't have the expertise or training to tell Dr. Fauci, who has studied these things his whole life. I'm going to trust Fauci, and if he leads me to death, then I'm going to die because he is a trained expert in this. I'm not going to listen to some redneck down the street flying his Confederate flag who can't keep all of his teeth. That's not going to happen.
Okay. So I think we beat that one up pretty good. Anybody have any solutions or bridges here?
Yeah, actually, I do. If it's okay, I don't want to stomp on Harley though. Harley, you just jump in when you feel you got something to say.
You got something to pipe in right now?
The only thing I was gonna say is that I kind of just agree with Anthony here. I think that if you're refusing the vaccine just because of wild conspiracies or doubting what the professionals are saying, that's not okay, right? We need that herd immunity. If we're not getting people, with these vaccines, that you're putting people who can't get the vaccines at risk. So that's all I have to say here.
And see, my addition to this would be that the Constitution, as I read it, actually contains within it the seeds of greatness, because what these people did was plant a seed of revolution, continuing revolution, that they knew, they had to know, they couldn't be that stupid, had to know would eventually result in the emancipation of minorities and the emancipation of women, because there's no way to read that thing without coming to that conclusion, even back then.
Okay, I guess I read it differently. I'll say this for solutions. This is going to sound ridiculous, but I think it's a great solution because I've watched this throughout my life, especially with Republicans and conservatives and a lot of the people who want to preach the lies, is these people have to suffer the consequences. That's how you learn. I have numerous degrees in psychology and counseling. Consequence is what changes behavior. So I'm going to give you a great example. In Texas, some of these people were getting $18,000 power bills, $13,000 power bills. It's because they chose to go with that market where it fluctuated. And now those people who bet on capitalism are the ones crying for the government to save their ass. No, you don't get to vote for capitalism and then let the government. These people who voted against the Republicans completely voted against the COVID relief. Anyone who's a registered Republican shouldn't get a check. That's your representatives. Those are the idiots you put in office. They went up there and voted against this totally. So let's now make sure that registered Republicans do not get the $1,400 checks. They don't get the unemployment boost. They don't get the vaccination program, because that's the only way you're going to change behavior. As long as these people can vote against their best interest and still draw. They vote against welfare and collect it. They vote against food stamps and collect it. They vote against unemployment and collect it. They vote against all of these things, but they still benefit from the other side creating a safety net. If you want capitalism, you saw it in Texas. Pay your $18,000 bill and shut the hell up. That's the way I see it. We got to give these people consequences for their idiot decisions. We keep saving them. Stop saving them.
Okay, Michael, you have anything to say before we bridge it up with Pete? Or Marvin?
I've been cheating since I've been talking to my daughter and over listening a little bit. My reading has been slightly interesting on these topics of American history, one of which is a book called White Trash, 400 Years of Class in America. Apparently, they inherited from the Brits that the rich guys were chosen by God, and the poor people were squatters, meaning that they not only didn't have standing in the courts, but they spent most of their lives squatting as if they were defecating. And so the origins of race and class distinction is not much loved. I discovered in my time in Ireland. And the Lyndon Johnson quote about if you tell a white guy he's better than a black guy, you can pick his pocket. And if you smile while you do it, he'll thank you. So the people voting against their interests was my little one. And I think we're just lucky, Steve, that small-time Gambine small business publisher is not amongst us today, because he might get offended. God love him.
And would you agree, Michael, that we still have that exact same system in place?
Absolutely. No, I mean, the follow-up books are things like Only Mercy, the one on people getting pulled off death row, and the new Jim Crow, where the court system instituted and basically run through the Obama years. So there's no great guarantees. It is money talks, and people that aren't born in Pebble Beach go to jail if they get in trouble as teenagers, like the slam.
Right. And prison is now the new slavery system.
Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah. And they get to rent you out and stuff. So
in today's Californian, there was an article in there that
you're enjoying this.
The state of California wants to now pay prisoners minimum wage to do what they're doing. And so we're going to give them free room and board, free health care, and now for making license plates and whatever they're doing, we're going to pay a minimum wage too. Are they going to pay back? It costs about $40,000 a year for one prisoner. Are they going to pay back, or are we just going to keep on giving and giving and giving?
Okay, Jay, can I say something on that one, since I lived that one?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, some of y'all, I spent a year in federal prison. During that time, I did landscaping when I wasn't playing sports or on the golf course or tennis court or whatever I was doing there at the prison. I was paid 12 cents an hour to work. Now, what was interesting, I was there during Hurricane Katrina. So they would send us out to do landscaping during Hurricane Katrina. Okay, during the winter where it was 20 degrees, they would send us out on the truck and we would push lawnmowers across dead grass as if we were doing landscaping. So I got friendly with the guy who drives the truck, and he said, the way this works, because the guy who drives the truck works for the company that uses us. We were on a military installation. We got paid 12 cents an hour. The people that contracted with the military installation were paid $15 an hour. So they made sure we left the facility. We had to leave the prison and go onto the base and cut dead grass. We would drive around in the truck during Hurricane Katrina for 5 hours straight, because they got paid for all the people on that truck $15 an hour times 5 hours. So should they pay that prisoner more money? I don't think they should. I don't think the prisoner should be paid any money. But my question is, should the person contracting with the prison be getting paid? That's my problem. If you're going to make $15 an hour off my labor, I should get more than 12 cents an hour. So the system is very crooked, and I got to see it up close and personal.
So you are arguing that the overseer should have gotten more of your $15, Masa?
The overseer got the $15. The prisoner got the 12 cents.
And the follow-up to that one is there was a cute thing on CNN about a month or so ago, in which Black prisoners found a kid at over at Notre Dame, the Salinas, the high school there, who was really bright kid, Afro-American kid, and the Black prisoners in Soledad making $1 a day or $100 a month, something like this, threw in like money to get this kid a scholarship. Sweet, sweet story. There's plenty of them out there. People may well be good, as what Anne Frank proved with their words, if not with their bad luck.
All right. Well, I think we beat that one up. Do you have a solution there, Pete, that you wanted to step in on and say?
No. I have to disclose that I'm a member of the Republican Central Committee here in Monterey County. And I've never
there were more like you, you'd win more often.
Yep.
Wait,
I'm
what?
also it's interesting to be a member of the Republican Party and not in favor of Trump. It's an interesting place. And again, I write novels about this, to be kind of stuck between the extremes. Another disclosure that's interesting is I had ancestors in the Confederacy, and I have to agree with Anthony. They got played. They got manipulated into fighting for the one percenters.
Yes.
And so they died for a cause that surely didn't care for them much.
No.
Yes, isn't that amazing, Pete? That's so, and don't you see that that's sort of what a lot of them are still doing? They're voting for, you haven't been on the show before, but I have right down 2 houses down here. There's a relative who's voted Republican and was a Trump follower, and she is drawing Medicare, she's drawing food stamps, she's drawing disability, and she's against social programs. And I'm like, you idiot, those are all social programs. Okay.
Yeah, it's a bit incongruous. But I also have to say that I'm concerned about debt. I'm concerned about government. The other theme, we're going to talk about the novel soon. And one of the things I keep bringing up is that the elites always look after themselves, not because they're evil, but because they're human beings. They're just humanity. And the problem is that power tends to promote the elites, whoever that is in power, looking out for themselves. And if the problem is, if you have a revolution like the French Revolution, then the new elites end up looking out for themselves. So humanity is the biggest issue here, is that human beings are human beings, that they listen to the false information. If you give them a place where they can be elites, they start looking out for themselves. It's just the human condition. It's why we have to really push for term limits and push for open-mindedness and acceptance of each other rather than being conned into fighting each other.
Right.
I was exactly going to ask you that. Term limits is one of the keys. If you could only serve once and you couldn't benefit afterwards, I'm a proponent, Pete, of having a lottery. And if your ball comes up, you serve in Congress. We don't even elect people anymore because we're electing millionaires and billionaires to represent a country that the average person makes $40,000 a year. So I'm all for putting a plumber in Congress. I'm all for putting a CNA in Congress. Let's put actual people. I would trust those people a lot more than the people we have there now.
Like a jury duty. Like
Would you think I would like to talk by any chance?
Say it again.
Say it again.
Oh, would I like to? Yes, indeed. I want. Let me guess. I want to start off with Pete. Pete, the book I'm reading that I like. I think her name is Eisner. 400 white trash. 400 years of class history in America. Mm-hmm. Both you guys on the one percenters. Both of you on people voting against their own interests. Eisenhower. I'm 73, so I've been seen, if not done everything, but Eisenhower in the late 50s was saying, there are people out there that don't believe in Social Security or Medicare and or unions. And I just have to tell you, these people are very stupid and there are very few of them and they will be gone soon. Well, he was right about the first half for sure. They weren't gone soon. We got a whole different surprise. And to go back with Pete, hippies were really mellow. And then we wonder how Jerry Rubens got run over and go walking across Wilshire Boulevard in West LA as a stockbroker, like steal this book, steal this life. And the term limits is one where I hear it. I had the good luck of being as an assistant to Lyndon Johnson's press guy when, after Johnson was long out at Marquette. And he thought that politicians know what they're doing or better, because he was around in 1948 where they just did absolutely crazy stuff. One of which was there was a guy shooting geese and he decided to get rid of the treaty with Canada. And you go, no, dude, it's not the way it works. And in terms of Pete and privilege and coming up, you get used to it, apparently. I was in Nicaragua after I failed altar boy, also a failed Irish Republican Socialist. I was in Ireland. Civil rights interested me. I was doing Play Street. So when I left that, I was thinking I could go to Cuba and see what a successful revolution looks like. But I went to Nicaragua. So Comandante Ortega, there were 9 comandantes. They were zipping around in, not Range Rovers, the Japanese version of it. But the Ortega Murillo family, one of the comandantes, went there in the 80s, and morale, it was going to be so cool. They put in schools and clinics, and the Ortega family have now replaced the Somoza family as dictators. So that part truly, truly sucks. Some people can do it, some people can't. I'm now studying Gnostic Gospels to find out about the true Jesus and moving towards the light and not the sexist religious crap. And it's all within us. But, I'm too secular and greedy and selfish and dumb. But, cheers, comrades. Happy Ireland.
Well, thank you. Yeah, the Irish is their month right here.
It's one of them. As I say, you're not paranoid if you think everybody hates you for all the nasty stuff you've done to them.
So, yeah, right. So this is a crazy month. So we have, or crazy week. We had the royal interview, the pain in the butt thing, the royal pain in the butt, interview, which is kind of crazy. But on a side note of what we were just talking about, they just had the stimulus check, released. So is everybody happy they're going to get some money? Everybody happy?
Money is good if you
money too, right?
I'm not from that northeastern county, a state called Jeffersonia. I don't care. I mean, I know they're screaming about keep your damn government hands off my Social Security check, but just keep sending in money, and I'll pay my taxes as best I can.
Right. So, let's get back on track here. I'm going to do this, talk about cancel culture here versus reality checks. And then we're going to get into the interview with Pete here. But Warner Brothers, Disney, Looney Tunes, theater companies, food and sports teams, they're all becoming more accountable to the times, to the people, aren't they? Space Jam put Pepe Le Pew on the cutting room floor, and the skunk-loving mofos are up in arms. Lola Bunny looks normal, okay? And not like a Playboy bunny. They're removing and adding warning labels to past art and age requirements to even older G-rated movies, like 7 and under now. What would is that something? What was once popular and seemed to be normal place for slapstick comedy and even political satirists, even in cartoon movies, funnies, but it is all to poke fun at reality and make you think for a second. And then parents should not forget to continue to have in-depth conversations with their children about both what they want as a parent and what the child wants, and to keep the communication open. Also, what they're watching on YouTube and television, all that crazy stuff. So who here loves Disneyland?
Oh, I don't, but I'm going to lie. Thing of we were all raised on Leave It to Beaver, all us older ones.
Oh my!
And white supremacy was intuitively normal. Right. And Aunt Jemima was not, it was nice to have a good cook in a household. So that part is really awful. I'm really not very happy that I'm going to get the wrong one. Costco I like because they pay decent wages, and Home Depot not so much because they throw so much money at Trump. My list goes on. I'm like everybody, kind of eclectic about what you can do. And there's a great guy who was an artist for Disney. He was one of the 7, and I just invented that number. He said, "Yeah, I was," and he would do the backgrounds. But he helped me get a copy of Song of the South, and also the one the one Disney made about Ireland. Song of the South, it was very benign, but it is all that antebellum. The song about I wish I was in the land of Dixie. It's written. There's a narration of a freed black slave. How sorry he got to be free because he misses the good old days. That is this antebellum Pollyanna stuff. And it's very crazy. I'm now reading a Grant biography. And his wife, as Grant does better, Pete, you're gonna like this. She is like down for her man, and doesn't mind giving up the slaves as he's become the general of the West, and moving towards total war, which is like, ooh, well, that's war, all right. So I think I was probably going somewhere with this, but I think I have noted that when normal was minority, this is going to get didn't exist. That was like, okay, so Jews, Catholic, Negroes, and then you go on, the list is so comical, Pete, as it goes on, where Catholic Germans in Texas or any immigrants in general, but the champions for being really despised by Thomas Nash, et cetera, were the Irish, with probably good reason, but still, built the damn railroads, et cetera, and died of tuberculosis and work site injuries as everybody else. So the women got it the worst as usual. But I will stop that ramble.
Oh, I want to agree where we understand and when you look at like the genocide of the Irish railroad workers, you see very clearly how bigotry works. Yeah.
Oh, good. Pete, may I quickly remind you that the New York draft riots included the Irish burning down the Negro orphanage. So while my grandfather pulled up Ku Klux Klan signs in Monterey, that doesn't mean he was not a racist guy. I'm saying competition and capitalism and all, and socialism, capitalism being man against man and socialism being the opposite means like, I hope there's a goodness inside us. But Pete, I want to hear the San Patricios, there's a movie about it. There's a guy, Chris up in Santa Cruz, was working on a screen for it. So that's a Captain Brady, man, got his ears cut off, got branded, went back to Ireland, and apparently married a very nice girl who realized, what do you expect the Protestants always treat people like that? God love you.
Yeah, the thing that's interesting though is that bigotry is really a universal condition.
Yeah.
And we need to study it as not a unique phenomenon, but of racial skin color issues, but simply the way human beings tend to react. The worst lynching in American history involved the lynching of Italian Americans, which is kind of bizarre.
Excuse me, they were down there in New Orleans doing bad stuff, they said.
Yeah.
Not knowing whether they got the right ones by any means.
So that's why I'm not in support of cancel culture. I support awareness. I certainly support clarity, but I really don't think we should remove and hide stuff. Instead, I think we should educate.
Steve, the end of the world we think it's going to be like bad stuff. And, some people are going to float up and the rest of us are going to do it out with Jesus or the devil or whichever side we're left to be militia for. And people in India, we know that Buddhism is about transcending desire and alleviate suffering. Unless you happen to be a Rohingya Muslim in Myanmar, and Hinduism is really interesting, all these lives one after another. Unless you happen to be a Muslim, whereupon you're going to lose your citizenship of the country you were born in. So there are very weird things going on. We can go down the list. Hungary, military dictatorships like Egypt, they don't give a. I was in Spain and then met hitchhiking as a kid during Franco's time. This nice middle-class Spaniard is going like, these guys don't know how to run economy. They just want to do a control freak thing. So yes, I'm on board with you and can't keep from commenting, but I want to hear about your book because especially
your comments. Hold on a second.
I've been to Churubusco. I've seen where those martyrs went. And by the way, most of them were Germans.
Yeah.
The Irish Brigade was mostly friggin' German by the last names. They were Catholics though. And boy, those know-nothings were not sweethearts.
The idea that cancel culture is new is the lie. This again, this country was founded on cancel culture. We canceled women. We canceled people of color. Our military has canceled civilizations during my lifetime and prior to my lifetime. The Smothers Brothers were canceled. McCarthy attempted to cancel communists. Christianity's attempted to cancel every religion that's tried to come up.
Especially other Christians.
KKK. Yes, Howard Stern was canceled. There is nothing new about cancel culture. It has always existed. It is usually the right and the Christians and the conservatives that are using it. They're the ones that try to cancel Kaepernick, and the liberals caught on. Oh, shit. We'll use their own weapon against them. Smart move. Once they cancel Kaepernick, we're like, okay, now we're going to use it against you. Let's go for it. Pepe Le Pew, I'm going to say this. I knew when I was 5 years old he was a rapist. We all knew he was a rapist. Okay, so that is absolutely nothing new. I remember telling my mom, he's just grabbing her. Can I do that? Of course you can't do that. It was odd even as a kid.
Not rape, that's sexual abuse.
Okay, exactly.
Hey, listen, guys, so I got excited about the Gospel of St. Thomas recently.
Good.
And this is the Gnostic stuff. So the Gnostics got suppressed because they said, listen, we're going to do 4 Gospels. That way, under Augustine, we're getting executed all the time. But we're going to be able to, we're not just this weird faction of Seventh-day Adventist, something or other, Koresh, and they're going to, but we are going to get it specialized. So the Roman army religion of Mithrians, who'd been busy executing the Christians, when they fell out and Augustine Constantine decides he's going to go with the Catholics, guess who gets snuffed next? And once they're in, of course, nobody expects a Spanish Inquisition, but it was a final tradition. Cancel culture usually means murdering people that you were pissed off at.
Absolutely.
So we're getting better.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, that's true. We are. You're exactly right. We're better.
Mostly, not all.
We're improving. Yeah. Harley, you have anything to say before I sum it up?
So here's my hot take. I think cancel culture is incredibly beneficial right now. In the way that we're using it, especially like you see it on social media and stuff where people are being held accountable for stuff that they said. You might have said something 2 or 3 years ago, and I don't think that you should be losing your job over something like that. But if you're not going to say that, I've learned from these things and I know better now than to say those things, then you deserve, everything that's coming to you.
I love you, Harley. You're going to be made a god out in Idaho. You're one smart ass person. I'm telling you that. You're going to do great out there.
Iowa, but yeah.
Iowa, sorry. They're both the same.
They are flyovers. By the way, Pepe Le Pew, if he'd lived as long as some of us, he'd be on the Viagra or just chilling out. He wouldn't have the money to keep doing it. He's coming. I saw a book cover go by. I want to hear.
All right, so here, let me just finish this up here. So back to Disney, what they're doing on their programming, so they're not getting rid of it, Pete. They're just putting a warning sign on it. And this is what the warning says, and you guys might appreciate the warning. This program includes negative depictions and or mistreatment of people or cultures. These stereotypes were wrong then and are wrong now. Rather than remove this content, we want to acknowledge its harmful impact, learn from it, and spark a conversation to create a more inclusive culture or future together. Disney is committed to creating stories of inspirational and aspirational themes that reflect the rich diversity of the human experience around the globe. And then this warning directs viewers to Stories Matter portion of the Disney website. And then, in closing, I just want to say, there's a popular Facebook meme I posted that says, we can remove flags and statues all day, but until we figure out how to remove the hate in people's hearts, nothing will change. And now I want to get into Pete Andresen, everybody. Wait.
Why they killed Bambi's dad on TV? The pedophiles did that in Hollywood for that Russian.
Is that who did it?
Never mind. Go on.
Yeah.
Okay, so So I wrote some things out, and I'm gonna probably do some reading here, but I wrote some things out because it's from the book, and I don't want to get it wrong. So, the pyre, honor, and dollars and common sense, which I own here, which I showed you guys. I got the pyre here. You got dollars and common sense, and then I don't know. I know you got. Do you have any other books that I don't know about? That
No, got a bunch of them about half written, but
okay,
that's it.
All right. I picked up your book at the Downtown Book and Sound in Salinas, which was mentioned in your book. Pete is an author and can be found online via Facebook and Amazon, as well as in the local bookstore in Salinas, California, called Downtown Book and Sound, whose operator Trish Sullivan shared your novel to me and suggested to reach out to you. And I'm glad that I did. You are the first featured author on our show. We had another gentleman on our show prior, but did not feature him. And just like Michael Houston as well over here on the call, we haven't really got into his
Pete,
everything.
Let's talk about publishing your book. I got the Arts Council grant that might help you.
Well, we're going to have them talk. We're gonna, just a little bit.
Yeah,
okay.
after.
Hold on. We're going to start publishing everybody on the call. Okay. The pyre is the name of the book and that defined is a heap of combustible material, especially one for burning a corpse as part of a funeral ceremony. That's pretty.
Or a heretic.
Okay. I see you wrote this book just prior to the pandemic striking the nation or the world. This book takes place in California. So my first question is, when did you finish the book?
Finished the book about June of 2020, and it took a while to get it published. And what's interesting is that as you notice, there's a virus in there as part of the thing. There's a virus the pandemic. And there's canceling the police in there. It's a very interesting thing because I didn't expect so much of it to become true.
Hold on, I'll take my question away. So you wrote the pyre for you said your family, and for yourself to record the absurdities of social and political discourse in our present era. You wrote the preface about democide. I was like, holy Jesus.
Is that killing Democrats?
No, that's genocide and mass murder of unarmed non-combatants by governments. The term was created by R.J. Rummel, who wrote the total victims of democide in the 20th century. It was 262 million.
Yeah.
A lot.
There aren't that many armed people in those of us who get genocided, by the way.
It's a lot of people. So hold on. So and then you wrote in there, when the grand experiment, which is the United States of America, comes to an end, as I perceive it will, individuals will ponder how much a wonderful invention could fail. This book is about that failure. That's pretty intense. The U.S. will end because we as individuals, Dad, listen to this. We as individuals did not have the self-discipline necessary to sustain it. We have lost, and then ... there's other data. We have lost self-discipline. How Roman of us. I like that. And it is so much easier and in the end, so much less effective to blame someone or something else. Politicians know this, which is why self-determination is never a topic for them. Then in another area, you said, we've lost the understanding of why the states are better united than apart. Okay, now I see that you're a fan of predictions and revelations by other novels that come true to reality. Life imitating art could be magical and then again be very scary at times. As you noted, the 9/11 prediction with Tom Clancy's Debt with Honor bestseller. In your opinion, do you feel anything close to your book, The Pyre, happened this last year? And now
yes.
back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it didn't come close because obviously we didn't break apart and we didn't start a civil war. But what we did have was we had the same, it was fascinating, the same issues with a pandemic of a virus, and the same social media inundation of misinformation that a lot of people believed. I was really astounded to see the amount of social unrest that was unleashed through disinformation, so much like the novel, which I thought I was kind of, these were my nightmares. I never thought they'd actually start to come true, but they did. And the amount of hatred fomented by various politicians was truly, to me, it was really kind of breathtaking. And as I said, I'm a member of the Republican Central Committee, and I got to say, it was pretty embarrassing sometimes because of the amount of disinformation and hatred that was spewed out there into the world.
Yeah, and it says that you wrote this book in a form of protest against our nullification of culture and ethics. Can you please elaborate on that some more?
Yeah. Harley, you may think that cancel culture is fine, but my mother grew up Native American and had to deal with all of the racism that involved. But when somebody points out her life, now she's over 100 years old, and says that you couldn't do it without the extra hand up, her master's degree and her bachelor's degree from Stanford start to lose their meaning. And it's very important to understand that the struggle for attainment and the struggle for success are universal.
Yeah.
And that you don't want to ascribe racial characteristics to anybody, even in a helpful manner. It's very deleterious to do that. So,
hold on, including the Irish? Not
including
the Irish.
Yes.
Including the Irish.
Yeah.
Blazing Saddles joke, sorry.
But Pete, do we not have to acknowledge that for minorities and women, our system has put additional obstacles in their path to success? We can't pretend that they have been equal. So there are people who make it out. My mother was 14 when she married my dad is 19. Neither one graduated high school. I went on to have 4 degrees and make millions of dollars and author books and that type of thing. I realize that I am not the standard. I also saw many people in my quest in hiring people for my rehab facilities. I think I only hired 2 black people because I only found 2 black therapists available. Okay, it's not because they're not smart enough. We cannot pretend that everyone can make it out. If everything was equal and we all had the same number of obstacles and then people didn't make it out, I'd be okay with that. But until we have that, we're doing a disservice to pretend that minorities and women don't have numerous obstacles placed in their path intentionally. Would you agree?
Let me jump on that, please, even before you get to go, Pete, because it's the Heritage Foundation guy was on NPR this week, and he was explaining that Black people and other people with their bad habits rather than their lack of opportunity do these bad things. And it brought me back to do you remember Ishmael Reed at all? Is a sort of a Berkeley intellectual, but Afro-American guy. And he goes back, whenever they want to dump on some crisis in America, they decide that Black people are doing it all wrong, despite the fact that Chinese have better extortion gangs. Latino gangs, this is a 20-year-old thing. Latino gangs were shooting more people, but the bad example that the news would put on was always Black people. And the Irish experience took 3 generations for them to get out of the slums and into what we refer to in San Francisco as the Irish Riviera, the avenues.
You do realize we're a bunch of white men.
Yeah.
Talking about what women and Black people should do, right?
I don't have to be retarded to identify a retarded person. I don't have to be crippled to work with a crippled person. I don't have to be Black to understand the struggle. I don't have to be a woman to understand the struggle. These are all educational pursuits, correct? We can't. If I listen to Candace Owens, is she a great representative of Black people? She's an embarrassment. She's an Uncle Tom. So because someone's Black doesn't make them an expert.
Okay.
Hey, you got something to say? You can pass.
Marvin, step up. Come on, tell your dad he's not carrying his weight tonight. Marvin?
I don't have anything to say right now.
Okay, fair enough.
Harley, what does Harley have to say? I love the young perspective.
So I was just gonna say, when I'm talking about cancel culture, I'm talking about like the lefty way of cancel culture. If you're saying something that is socially not okay to say, you deserve to be canceled, right? That's cancel culture in my perspective, right? Y'all were talking about, tearing down statues, isn't going to change anything. No, but it's a start, right? We get the conversation going by tearing down these statues, and we tell people, well, we're tearing down this statue because this guy did all these bad things. If we're just going to keep celebrating people who, are debatably terrible people, then nothing is going to change. And that's all I have to say.
I mean, just look at Britain. They picked these pirates who stole Ireland and did horrid things to India, etc. And so they ripped it off, everybody else off, and they get to have the firm be mean to suicidal people. That's not right, in my opinion. And I'm speaking as a privileged white idiot.
Well, let's stay out. Let's get back to Pete. Pete,
Okay.
I see that you have a rich gun history in what you write, and I think that's really cool. And you present how you're pro guns and firearm training is what I caught from a lot of what I read. How do you feel about? And this is just a thought for everybody here, but and two people that were in the military. Were you in the? I don't know if you were in the military, Michael, but
I was in jail.
Oh, okay.
But my friend was in the military. Decided he didn't like it. He was an Irish Republican as well. So he's up in Mare Island, and is in the brig for desertion. And so he's there. He's sinking ships. Unfortunately, his ships were made of asbestos. So he became a martyr. He gave himself flipping cancer. But that was the one he tracked back to. Big 6'2", axe wielding, Renaissance fair guy that, and Pete's gonna go, well, that's one way to make the market.
But how would you feel about having the military train our kids in the high school, like to shoot, tie a knot, build a fire?
I had my uncle do it.
The opportunity the service offers to them after high school. Hold on a second.
I actually would like to see some sort of universal service. I don't know how that would work in terms of paying for it, but one advantage I had was going through Marine Corps boot camp was I was inundated with people from different cultures and different places throughout the United States. And I would like to bring the children of the elites into that draft so that they can participate fully in the American experience, and it's a wonderful way to see how diverse and how marvelous Americans are from all across the United States. So the answer is yes, but only if you could bring that into some form of military service with some sort of college miniature GI Bill to at least fund some education as on the other side of that. Now that may be fantasy because I don't know how you'd pay for that, but
I think doesn't Israel do something like that, Pete? Doesn't Israel?
A lot of countries
prescribe 2 years of military service? Am I right?
I'm sorry?
Because I think that's a great idea. I believe Israel makes everyone join the military for 2 years. I'm not sure if I'm right on this.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, Pete, I love I so agree with you. I was raised in the military till I was 23. From the day I was born, I was 23. I didn't realize racism actually existed outside of Archie Bunker until my dad retired in Montgomery, Alabama. Because I never, ever, maybe some was ignorant, but I never saw racism living on a military installation, going to schools on a military installation. So I thought it was funny when I'd see it on TV that it was makeup until my dad retired and I found out my relatives were in the KKK and people were burning crosses. And then I was like, oh my God, this shit is real. So I agree. If people could come together from different social classes, different races, they would find that we're all exactly the same.
That's right.
Steve, I would like to jump in, Pete rather, on the one of paying for it. And one of the big worries was, if you're going to require people to stay in high school till they graduate, I mean, like, what is that? What is civil liberties? In Nicaragua, during the Contra War, the farm folk up north were taking CIA money and part of the thing motivating them to fight against the revolutionary government down there, starting after 79, was the fact that their kids were working in the fields. So the argument in favor of universal high school education in the US and moving it up maybe would be it pays for itself. Before World War I, the US is owing Europe $3 million. After World War I, they're owing us $3 billion or whatever, it got ridiculous. So, and then, in terms of the draft, I got a lottery number after, first off, I was, refused to run off with a 16-year-old whose grandpa was on my local draft board, said I was a Catholic conscientious objector, which is impossible. But out of high school, I did get to go in it was the youth corps. It was a youth corps kind of thing, where I went to New York and was with the police athletic league in Harlem. And I was the Beatle, otherwise known as the only fairly long-haired white guy in the place. And that was very interesting. But, this thing of never, how can we pay for it? It's a risky game, all right. But, say the minimum wage. How would we ever pay for that? When people have money that don't have it, they get it. And now I'm a homeowner. And if I had to pay wealth tax, my kids would be less rich. And it would make them get off their duff and make something of themselves with the benefit of what I managed to work a lifetime for. And other places like Europe, they tax you when you go and make them earn it as they go. So, right. I mean, these are just...
Thank you, Michael.
I just want to say something about the military. I enlisted 11 times. 11 times I enlisted. And I was turned down. The last time the recruiter had me set up to go back to college, get my bachelor's degree, and go to work at Walter Reed Army Hospital as a dietitian, because I'm a food addict, and so I followed my food and got an associate degree back then, which was a big degree back then in hotel and restaurant management. So he was going to get me another 2 years of college and get a bachelor's degree and become a dietitian at Walter Reed. Everything was fine. He was my last recruiter. 11 times I went for my physical, and there was a kid 18 years old from Arkansas. He turned me down and my recruiter, his name was Folio, Anthony Folio. I even went to his wedding. He invited me to his wedding. He said, "You know why the kid turned you down? Because you were Jewish." I was a dirty little Jew boy ever since I was in first grade, and 11 times I enlisted. Because I was Jewish, I was turned down every fucking time.
Wow.
And that's why I want to get our World Peace Park off the ground. You're talking about getting people to understand each other. And what the motto of our World Peace Park is to overcome prejudice through education. Now, a lot of the stuff that you guys are talking about, I really don't understand because my English is not that great. Because when I was in school, the letters and numbers used to dance around on the page. And I would go and say, the letters and numbers are dancing around on the page. And they would send me to the office as a bad boy. They didn't know what dyslexia was back then. I didn't learn how to read until I was 50 years old. And then I just learned how to read and not what the words meant. And so when I'm listening to you guys talking big words, I have no idea what the hell you're saying.
I try to never use big words, Marvin. I promise. I try to never do that.
I count you among the blessed, Marvin.
What's that?
I count you among the blessed. If you knew what I was saying, you might get really sick.
Yeah, that's right.
And I would have loved to have you in my military, Marvin. I'd have loved to have you with me in there in the hospital working with people. It would have been great.
I want to jump in one more time that I'm really big on art as healing for post-traumatic stress and all. That's why I do this publishing stuff. Marvin engaged in something highly meaningful for him that added value to his life. In fact, lucky number 11, baby.
Yeah.
Right on. Hey, Harley, you have anything to follow up with? I know you got something there.
I was actually going to ask you if we could revisit that Senate stimulus topic, because Michael had brought up the minimum wage potentially being raised, and I don't think we ever talked about how that got slashed out.
Harley, you guys in up there in Ohio,
yeah.
I think that's a really important topic. People who need money spend it, and they live better, and their kids get better education. They live longer. Lots of good reasons for more money.
Well, it's complicated too, because here we still have federal minimum wage. We still do that $7.25 an hour,
Wow.
And that's just ridiculous. And the fact is, it got slashed out in the Senate. I believe it was 7 Democrats voted against it. Completely outrageous. Yes, even if they voted for it, wouldn't have went through anyway, unfortunately. I think that does illustrate that there are problems with the Senate in general. But maybe you could elaborate on that. I'll pass it on to anybody else if they have anything to say.
Well, we all hate the 1%ers, but don't forget that the rest of us 45 want to keep you other 33 down.
And Pete, you still there?
Yep.
See, you talked about self-discipline. I'm trying to try to answer Harley's question and see, I would really like to hear what you say about this. Is the problem is not with the 1%ers and the people with money. The problem is with the people that are getting minimum wage have no balls. If you have the numbers, you can bring this country to a standstill. And if those people would organize instead of whine and bitch and moan, because they definitely deserve more than 15 an hour. But it's time for those people.
Hey, you're cracking up. Can't hear you.
Well, that's good, because I was going to cancel him.
Yeah, you got cut out.
I mean, as a union guy for life, and in Northern Ireland where they shoot them up, and bombed them up, it's for real. Working class values are for real. If you get lied to that you should vote against your own self-interest, this is going to be Pete, Anthony, and everybody. But if there's no hope of it, and meanwhile these loonies flip sides with the left, with the militias on the right. And they're ready to take over bridges on Highway 101 South County with armor-piercing bullets and think they'll do just fine against the 101st Airborne. Whoa, you haven't seen crack troops doing stuff to civilian uprisers.
That's what my novel's about.
Okay, I got to get it.
You've got to hold it up and give the price and how to get it on Amazon. There we go. Oh, Pyre.
Nice.
Pete Anderson. I got to write that down, man. I got to get that.
Pete, give me a little tease on it. Do you agree it's incumbent on them to stand up for themselves, to take control?
I think it's important to use the political system, because I think people misunderstand how revolutions kill their young. So you don't want a revolution. You want political change, but the more you alienate people, the worse it gets. So you got to find a way to reach out in love, because if you reach out in hate, you're going to get a bullet or a spear back.
True. True. Marvin, you have anything to say? Harley?
So I guess on the whole standing up for yourself to get the wages that you deserve, I totally agree with that. And if we had an actual functioning union system, then I would say sure. But the fact is, our unions are way underpowered. Membership is way too low. We are not getting the numbers needed to make change. If we got those numbers, sure. If they didn't take away our rights to bargain for health care, I don't know if you knew that or not, but you can't do that anymore.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
So, if there's no benefit, if it's just, well, I'm going to sign up, they're going to take my money, right? Because that's what everybody says. When I worked at Walmart, they had videos telling me that the union was bad for me. I worked at Walmart for a year and a half. Okay, when I was 17 up until I was just turning, gosh, I don't know how old I was, but I was there about a year and a half, somewhere around there. And
now
they had
going at $15 an hour.
Who has Walmart?
They've done it. You know, they'll goodbye, mom and pops. You know, we're going to get the labor force and control the market.
Harley, can your age group not use social media? Not actually a formal union, but use social media like you so beautifully did with Black Lives Matter and Antifa, and put people in the streets and that type of thing. Could your age group not single out certain cities with social media and strike as a group? Because there's a limit where they can't fire everyone. If you can get 200,000 or 300,000 people to walk out that day, I think you're going to get this. So I don't think it has to be formally a union as much as use social media to create a chain reaction.
Like in Myanmar, for example. Oh, wait, they shot everybody in the street that time.
Jeez, Michael.
They did.
In between that. Times are hard. We must struggle. They're jailing us. They're beating us. Join the Communist Party, 1936. No thanks.
I want to say this, and this is these low-income people. They don't understand that the United States is governed by people. They think, when they hear the government, they think that's a separate organization. They can't understand that they can control the government by voting. They can control, and they're paying the bills. And so they don't understand that they're paying the bills because they're getting free food and they're getting free this and free that, Medi-Cal or Medicaid and all this stuff for nothing, all right? And so they say, oh, well, and so they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. 60% of the American population doesn't give a crap of what's going on in America.
But they don't want nobody else to get it.
But if you start using social media to help these people understand America, then we might have a good country again. You know, like Trumpy said, make America great. Unfortunately, Pete, what Trumpy did was divide America. He didn't make it great at all. The first thing he did when he got elected, instead of going forward, what did he do? He started in on Hillary Clinton. He already beat her. Screw her. Why did he even bring up the 3,000 emails and all that other bullshit? And then he says, and keep the Muslims out and put the kids in jail and throw these little kids in jail. I mean, even right now, I have a meeting with our local guy here, Panetta. Because I really believe that if you really want to change America and you don't want to become dependent on China like we are, that all of these immigrants, if we let them in and we gave them the boards and the concrete to build their own apartment houses,
or New Orleans,
taught them how to do the same thing that's being done in China, we could have American-made products. Even though these people are from South America, they're still Americans, the South Americans. But we can make everything here in America, pay them minimum wage, give them a place to live, and then after a while, have them start to repay for the place that we gave them, that they actually built themselves.
You described the model of moving west. The waste people, which is the way, unfortunately, the people of the middle range, middle American, the silent majority, they are the opinion that once you've made it, you are beyond race, color, creed, whatever, and you want to watch out for what's yours. But it's good to bring people, the model that they used for developing the West was get rid of all the people that are just squatters, push them on, and then the economy builds after this. It's kind of funny. It repeats itself in arts communities. artists find the rundown parts of town, and the next thing you know, it's getting gentrified. So I like where you're going with this in terms of how to develop a better world, and hopefully that they consider things like climate change, which could even shorten our own lives, being elderly. So yeah, it's a good one, and the vaccines should be shared to countries that have less technology and people, because it can come back to bite you. So again, how to deal with it is a tough one, in terms of anybody who's got their little bit, not in their backyard. There was one in the story I'm going to do real quick is in Massachusetts. A town was going to get a railroad station. That'd be good money, but they were going to have to build low-income housing. So they said, no railroad station, thank you very much, meaning goodbye, a couple of $1 million for building the thing, and whatever was going to be bringing in jobs to have stuff around there. But, it's tough, I like where you're going. I don't know how to do it myself.
Well, let me ring it in here, bring it in. So I just want to read the front cover here of The Pyre here. It says, a novel of the great 2022 earthquake, the breaking apart of the United States of America, the creation of the People's Republic of California.
Real quick, anybody who talks now has to say, like in Pete's book, The Pyre, I also think.
Hold on.
Let's say this portion of the show. Let's give him his time, man.
That's exactly right. So in his book, it says, regrettably, without the examples of history, many Americans don't handle sacrifice or responsibility well these days. Then it says, government involvement always comes with a price tag. This is true. And
the absence in the case of bubonic plague.
It seems that history repeats itself, and it seems that all great empires implode eventually. Why? Is it the human nature? When will the great USA implode? Will it be in my lifetime? Did I witness it this year? Thus, I continue to think how we came from the Ice Age through all the ages, into the Industrial Age, into the Information Age. Again, and with all of the information at our fingertips, we must step into the accountability age. And on that note, I am finished for the night. I thank you all for being on the call.
Thank you deeply, everybody.
Wait a minute, we didn't do Sapiens by Yuval Harari. We did not talk about 70,000 years ago when people began to share ideas and start scheming so we could wipe out the monkeys and the rest of the planet. All right, never mind.
Well, thank you, Michael.
And as Pete was saying, Pyre will really help you guys understand a lot of these issues. You reflect and you'll come